Hi folks, and welcome back to Understanding Business Strategy. In the last video, we have explored the importance that resources have in companies' ability to create and maintain a sustainable competitive advantage. By the positioning school of strategy, companies are able to achieve a competitive advantage if they create a unique set of activities that are uniquely well suited to serve a particular target segment in the market. In order to do so, a company needs to develop a unique set of resources that enable the company to perform those activities. In the last video, we have seen how the competitive advantage of an organization then is, yes, embedded in the different resources that the company develops over time and in its ability to create more of those resources, but also in the way that those resources connect into bundles of resources. That makes the company strategy very difficult to imitate. In this video, we are going to explore the second dimension that entered the world of strategy and strategic thinking in the 90s. And this dimension is the time dimension. Up to now, anytime that we were talking about business strategy and strategic thinking, we kind of took a snapshot of an organization in a particular moment in time. And it's kind if we have frozen the strategy and try to understand all its driver. So for example, if we're using the positioning school of strategy, we kind of take a snapshot of the set of activities that the company performs in the value chain and try to relate those activities to the needs of the customer. But then the question becomes, how did the company ended up serving that customer and developing that unique set of activities and resources needed in order to serve that kind of customer uniquely well? There are two main theories when we try to answer this question. The first theory argues that the strategy process is deliberate, which means that there is someone or a group of people coming together that is able to understand an unmet customer need in the market and creating an organization that is uniquely well equipped to deliver that particular product or service into the market. The second theory is actually the opposite to the first theory, and it argues that the strategic process is emerging, which means that there is no one that has enough insight a priori able to understand an unmet customer need and that is able all at once to create a company that is uniquely well fit to serve that particular customer segment. As you can see, are two completely different approaches at the way that we understand the strategy formation process. And they are not looking at strategy in a specific moment in time, but they actually try to find different explanation on how a strategy has been generated. Now, let me focus on the main difference between these two approaches to strategy creation process. The first theory, which argues that the strategy creation process is deliberate, argues that within an organization we have two sides. We have the people with enough insight to formulate the strategy and other people that are merely implementers, which means that they don't have necessarily to understand the strategy, they have only to execute. Here you can understand the emphasis of strategy is on control. The second theory, which argues that the strategy creation process is emerging, rejects the idea of a dichotomy within the organization with thinkers, formulators, and implementers, doers, but rather argues that the way that the strategy is made emerge from the action of the all people working within the organization. It focuses on the idea of experimenting new things and try to see what is their outcome is the essence of this theory. As you can understand, Here, the control, that was the essence of the first theory, is replaced by learning. The second approach to understanding the creation of business strategy is much more suited or appropriate for changing environments, in which companies are exposed to many different changing forces within the industry. Therefore, learning becomes essential to the survival of the company. I wanted to introduce you to the two different understandings of how strategy happens within organization, because I suppose it's very important to understand that there are different ways to understand the same subject. I believe, though, that many of us are operating in companies which face an ever-changing environment. Therefore, I personally embrace the second of the theory, which explains that strategy is an emerging process and makes both the learning and the resources within the organization the centerpiece for competitive advantage. I am currently working on two different courses. One course, which I have introduced in the last lecture, focuses on the resource-based view of an organization. In other words, how do the resources of an organization contribute on its ability to create and sustain competitive advantage? And the other course that I am creating is bringing the time dimension into play and try to understand how experiments actually can inform the strategy of an organization, and obviously what is the role of learning in innovation. Stay tuned.